Hi, everybody. Welcome to the next session at the Purpose Driven Business Summit. For those of you that are joining us again, thank you for being here. And for those of you that are tuning in for the first time or are watching this as a recording, we're really glad you're here as well. And you're going to get to hear from Margaret Davidson today, talking about her great baby clothing company. Before we start talking with Margaret, I want to just give everybody the usual reminders. So we have a private Facebook group that is where we're encouraging people to interact with each other. On these Zoom webinars, it's hard to get much interaction going. But as you're listening today, if questions come up, with anything you'd like to know from Margaret, please put it in the chat, and we're both going to be keeping our eye on that. And she's glad to answer questions that you have. Another place to share your ahas or what you're up to, ask questions, is in the Facebook private group. And if you haven't already joined that, please feel free to go there. I let you in, and then we probably have about half to 3/4 of the people registered that are actually part of the Facebook group. So it is a great way to interact with other attendees and talk about purpose-driven business. So we encourage you to do that. So without further ado, let's get going. So Margaret, I know you just moved, which, even makes it really great that you made the time to come and speak at the Purpose Driven Business Summit. I'm really thrilled that you're here to tell us about your journey and what you're up to with, it's Bokk baby, right? Mm-hmm. Am I saying that correctly?
Bokk or Bokk, we'll take either.
Okay. So, and I'm sure everybody listening in is interested to know not just what you're up to now, but kind of what your path has been to start this company and like where you're planning to take it. So I'll let you give a little bit about your background, what you think you want to share and what's important, and we'll get going. So welcome.
Great. Thank you so much, Sue. I'm happy to be here. And of course, want to keep this as informal as possible. So if anybody is tuning in and you have a question, feel free to type it out in the chat box, and I will definitely make this as interactive as possible and as interactive as you'd all like it to be. But I guess I can start off by just sharing a little bit about myself and my brand, Bokk Baby or Bokk Baby. I can get into the name and what it means and where it came from as well. So I'll give you that whole story too. But essentially, we're a 2-year-old business. Our business is BOKK. I'm gonna actually, if anybody's unfamiliar with our business, I'm just gonna put it into the chat box. Sorry, my O is messed up. That's a Y on there. I have some keyboard issues going on, but you can check out our website. I'll put a link to it in a minute, but so we sell children's clothes. We focus on the baby market, so that would be size 0 to 12 months, and then we go all the way up to 2T right now. So that's our size range. We're very exclusively in baby and toddler apparel. Essentially, we started this business mission first. My partner and I, my co-founder and I, we were Peace Corps volunteers in Senegal 5 years ago. And we moved to Colorado, to Denver, right after we got back from the Peace Corps. And my sister also at the time had her first baby. So I'm not a mom myself. I'm an aunt. And I have a niece and a nephew. And when my nephew was born, it was right after I had gotten back from Senegal, and when I was over in Senegal, I'd been living in a rural village and working with midwives in rural community health posts in that whole area. So all of my Peace Corps projects were surrounded around maternal and child health care and working with midwives. And one of the major projects that I did over there was I worked with the midwife in the village that I was living in to write a grant and raise money so that we could renovate the existing one room, super simple, super basic community health hut. And so that's the lowest in rural areas. That's the lowest level of health infrastructure. So, in a larger town, you'd have a hospital. In kind of a mid-sized town, you might have a larger post. Because we were in a very rural village, we had just this little one-room hut, and it basically wasn't used for anything other than labor and delivery. So, moms would go there to deliver, and as long as complications didn't arise, they would have the baby with a midwife just right at home in their own village, which if they go into the health hut is, absolutely preferable to delivering at home without the supervision of a trained midwife, which also does still happen in rural areas and can result, of course, sadly, in, things going wrong in cases where, there are complications and a doctor is very far away in that case. So the health hut is really a place where, women go not only to deliver, and that's just the routine that they get into, but also it's the safest place to have a baby in a rural area. And so a lot of our training, I guess, with moms in rural areas was with the midwives to educate on why it was important to go into the health hut, even though it is such a very basic structure, to deliver under the care of a trained midwife. So that was what I was doing in Peace Corps. I finished up in 2015 and moved right to Denver and started out working in nonprofit healthcare. That was what my background was in, and it was something that I had already been doing when I was abroad. So I joined Colorado Community Health Network, CCHN. I don't know if anybody's familiar, but it's a membership organization for community health centers all across the state of Colorado. So we worked with clinics in rural areas that serve primarily underserved populations. And, I found that to be a very fulfilling job. I really loved the mission. That said, I was working there for a couple years and didn't feel like I belonged in healthcare, honestly. Like I just, I didn't enjoy the work and I wasn't passionate about it, but what I was passionate about was the mission and was the values that, that previous job espoused. And so I wanted to make sure that whatever I did next was something that not only aligned with my personal and professional goals and interests, but also something that still had that mission that I could really get behind and, make my bread and butter, I guess. So naturally, after my sister had a baby, I went to, go spend some time with her and help her out while she was taking care of a newborn. And I remember just like sitting with her with her newborn baby, and we were just like surrounded by like a nursery full of just like stuff. And I remember my sister looking at me and going like, I don't know what to do with all this stuff. Like, I wish I didn't have it all. Like, I got most of it as gifts. There's so many clothes. And she looked at me and she was like, I wish that you could get this back to the villages where you worked and those, back to the midwives, because like they could use all this stuff. And like, I have no need for it because I just have too much right now. And, I have all these clothes and he's going to grow out of them. And we sort of started from there, like, it was kind of like a light bulb moment. And, it's just a common refrain that you hear from new parents, especially, in this country. It's just like, there's a lot of consumerism involved with having a baby. And, a lot of stuff comes into your home that wasn't otherwise there. And for families that are on the sustainability train, so to speak, or are really trying to be conscious of their footprint and are trying to live more simply, more intentionally, with less material things, the idea of bringing a new baby into your life can be a little bit stressful because you do accumulate a lot of stuff, and a lot of times it's unavoidable. But then, of course, the other thing is that the longevity of baby things is, I mean, it's a few months, right? So that's really the issue, is that kids grow out of their stuff so quickly, and then parents are left with a lot of things that, cost money to buy, and still have a lot of use left in them. And to just get rid of them, feels a little wasteful. And I think that that's something that, we heard talking to a lot of parents, and that was a really, a common refrain, I guess, among parents. And so in addition to working in healthcare, like I also have a graphic design background, and I had been working on illustrating a children's book after I got back from Senegal. So I was sort of in this mind space of creating for kids, and creating artwork for kids. So I really wanted whatever my next job would be. I knew that I didn't want to stay in healthcare, but I really wanted whatever my next job to be mission driven, and also more artistic and more related to my passions for design, which were kind of blossoming at the time. So putting those things together, my co-founder and I, who was my partner at the time, we had some fun with thinking about, what can we do to make a company that served families and served children, and also gave parents the opportunity to recycle used and outgrown baby clothes, because specifically we were looking at clothes. Their big gear stuff, I mean, that just seemed like not something that we could take on. Clothing felt like a really manageable way to get into the redonation side of things, I guess. And also because we had both been volunteers in Senegal, we wanted to give back to Senegal in some way. So what we did was we essentially thought of, what if there was a way to reuse and repurpose high quality, gently used baby clothing and goods for use in rural community health settings, whether they be in, abroad, in sub-Saharan Africa, or whether they are here at home in the United States. So that was we just basically wanted to create a program where parents that had too much of something could easily give to those who had too little, and that we could be the go-between that would facilitate that exchange. So what we wound up doing was coming up with the idea for Bokk Baby sort of in a roundabout fashion. We actually had the idea for a subscription box company first. So originally we had this idea where we would send every 3 months or so, I think like every 3 or 4 months, we would send a curated box of baby products and goods, including clothing, books, toys, whatever. And it would be a gift box essentially. And you would get it every 3 months, and then you would return the box filled with any outgrown stuff that you had. So the goal was that people could send back by mail children's donations, and we would take back anything. So they didn't have to be our products that we had previously sold. So it wasn't just like a return program for when you're done with our stuff. It was a way for people to kind of do the one in, one out thing. So they could buy something new from us and then offload whatever they didn't need anymore and wanted to donate, reusing the same packaging that their new products came in. So that was always kind of the concept of the donation program. We got pretty far into planning what a subscription box company would look like. And I mean, honestly, we just crunched the numbers, and with the shipping, we would have to be doing so much volume with that model to ever make a profit on it, because of, the whole concept was to make return donations super easy for the customer so that they wouldn't have to pay. The return label would already be included, and the process would just be very, very simple. That said, I mean, we do cover the shipping cost for people who participate in the return donation program. And if we wanted to do that, really the only way that we were going to make profitability viable at a normal volume for a small bootstrapped small business was to sell our own branded products. So once we realized that, we weren't going to be a retailer that was buying wholesale from other companies and that we were actually going to be our own brand, we were like, all right, well, we need a product now. So what do we make? So having had the experience in design and liking, liking creating designs for children and artwork for children, we decided to go with apparel. And, we wanted to do super simple styles and just focus less on, I guess, innovation in the actual clothing style, because so many baby styles are just so tried and true, like the short sleeve. We call it the classic onesie because it's a classic onesie, the wraparound top or the pajama set. I mean, all of these styles are things that parents are very familiar with. So we wanted to do them in beautiful, interesting, unique, and cute, fun designs, prints and patterns that, I would draw. And we wanted to focus on the fabric too, and carry this idea of sustainability from being just the return donation program to really being embedded into every fiber of our brand and our products. And so, I mean, we really decided, I guess, at that time to go from the subscription box model to starting our own sustainable fashion brand. And once we had decided that, yeah, I mean, then it became a matter of, all right, how do we do that? How do we get started? And what does it look like to build a sustainable apparel company from the ground up with having had absolutely no experience in this industry, in manufacturing at all, and anything like that. So, I mean, all I knew about baby clothes was what they're supposed to look like when they're done. Like, I didn't know what a cut and sew pattern was. I didn't know all of these things. But that just goes to show that you can learn everything that you don't know. So never be afraid to jump into something, just because you don't have a ton of experience, or even if you have no experience. I mean, that's what the internet is for. See how hard it would be to learn something from scratch before deciding that it's too difficult or it's too far out of your specialization. Because I do really feel that people are capable of learning anything if you put your mind to it. So don't be intimidated if you want to dive into an industry that you've never been in before. So essentially how we got started was is this okay? Is this a good pace, Sue? Are we on point?
Oh, fascinating. I only knew the high level stuff about what you've been up to. So thank you for sharing, because I think it's really helpful for folks to hear, you have something you really want to do, and then sometimes you have to pivot once you do due diligence in your research. And there's no shame in that. Like, it's not okay. So if that's not going to work, what's the next thing we can do that we still care about, but that can be a win-win? And, you don't want to go broke trying to do good for the planet. So, so it's very useful. Thank you for sharing all this.
Yeah, of course. And I mean, to give you a sense of a timeline too, like we launched 2 years ago, so we've been in business for 2 years. That being said, I mean, it took a couple solid years from the origination of the idea to being able to launch the business. So we had, incorporated our company about a year before we launched, and we were setting up our supply chain and doing all of this work in addition to still having full-time jobs, well before we ever launched the company or started selling product. So I'll kind of walk you through a little bit of what it was like to get the company off the ground. But essentially, we started doing a lot of research into having a sustainable fashion company, how to manufacture clothing, how to manufacture baby clothing. And of course, there's a lot of options for where you can make something, because we didn't have any previous experience, and because we wanted to, we weren't trying to get an investment before we launched. So we were bootstrapping the company ourselves. So we were working with like a very tight budget, and always have been, always will be. We knew that we needed to work with the factory that was going to do low minimums. So that basically knocked out having had no experience in manufacturing before and needing to go with somebody who would do low minimums for us, basically knocked out overseas manufacturing as an option. That being said, we didn't really, we wanted to be a sustainable brand, and part of our mission was about, being made in USA and being made as locally made, or as locally made as possible. I mean, I think that part of our ethos is that we believe that, if you can create something locally for a local consumer, that's really the way that our economy should work, and in terms of sustainability. So we wanted to keep our manufacturing close to home. We wanted to keep it domestic. And so we did a lot of work to find, the pieces of our supply chain. We actually tried very, very hard for months to try to have our supply chain all the way in Denver, or in Colorado. We found a textile supplier out of Glenwood Springs, who was wonderful, an eco-textile supplier that made the fabrics that we wanted. And we found a couple cut and sews that could do baby clothes, but didn't do them all the time. The problem was that the cut and sew was difficult to find. There aren't a lot of, apparel manufacturers in Colorado that do delicates and knitwear fabrics, or knit fabrics. Most of the manufacturing that we were finding is for very technical apparel and outerwear and activewear. There's a lot of activewear manufacturing, which is awesome for Colorado, and it makes sense, right? To have with the whole outdoor industry here. But unfortunately, it's just those skills don't translate. So a factory that works with, lycras and polyesters and poly blends and this type of materials, probably doesn't also make t-shirts or baby clothes or things that are, soft and like that. So, and the other issue that we found actually in Colorado was that because we wanted to do these all over textile prints, and you can't digitally print on all natural fiber fabrics, which I also learned during this process, which is an interesting fact. I wish we could digitally print on them, but it doesn't work. You have to do a traditional screen print on the 100% cotton, or what we use a 70% cotton, 30% organic cotton blend. And then our other fabric that we use is a 55% hemp, 45% organic cotton. So we use all natural fibers and all organics. So we had to go with a wide format screen printer to do the roll-to-roll printing for the all over prints. We couldn't find anybody to do that. Unfortunately, in Colorado, there are so many screen printers, but none of them do the wide format roll-to-roll fabric printing. So because of those two things, we gave up on Colorado for making our products, and we went out to Los Angeles, which we knew was always our backup option. We knew that we'd be able to find, whatever we needed to do out there, because there's such a thriving garment industry and textile manufacturing industry out there. So, thankfully I have a friend who lives out there. So instead of having to get a hotel for all these business trips, I just kind of stayed at her place, and which was great because, it's a cheap flight from Denver to LA. So we would actually go out there, and I think we went out there 4 or 5 times. We met with different factories and manufacturers, and picked one that we liked and felt like we could really have a good relationship with. And it wound up being a great decision. We really love our manufacturer, and our production manager over there is one of our good friends now, which is important to have that personal relationship, because you need people on your side who are manufacturing your product. Otherwise, you're just gonna run into very annoying walls. So yeah, we kind of put together a supply chain. We have 3 parts of our manufacturing process. If this is interesting to you guys, but our fibers, so our natural fibers, are imported. So that's the only thing that's imported. Our bamboo fiber and our hemp fiber is imported. The organic cotton is grown in the US. Then we have a textile manufacturer who's a sustainable textile manufacturer, small business out in Los Angeles, who who knits the fibers into our finished fabrics. So that's our fabric maker, and then our fabrics go to a low impact dye and print house where they're printed with our little patterns, or they're dyed in the case of our sweatshirts and sweatpants. And then they go to our cut and sew, which is the largest step of the process and the most labor intensive. And that is our, that's where the most money goes into the manufacturing process. And that's the most important piece of it, because they're the ones that are finishing the product and getting it really ready to sell. So yeah, it took us about, a little over a year to put all that together and figure it all out from scratch, and go out to LA numerous times, meet with all these people. And then from there, at the same time, we had sort of been developing the website and figuring out all of the pieces that needed to be lined up for us to launch. I also took I don't know how many of you who are tuning in are local to Denver, but there's this great resource called the Commons on Champa. And I did this program when we were launching the brand called Co-Starters, which was like, it was like very cheap, and because it's subsidized by the Small Business Administration, and they essentially, it's like a accelerator program for small businesses, and you can be at any stage of your business. So I did it when we launched to sort of keep myself accountable, keep myself on a timeline, and really be able to set goals. And I found that extremely helpful. So if you are in the process of launching a company and you're, struggling with time management, or you would like some more of a framework for, how to do this job that nobody's telling you what to do other than yourself, I would definitely check out resources like that and try to get in with some sort of accelerator program, some sort of course for starting a small business, but anything that can put you around other entrepreneurs who are in the same boat as you, and in front of people who have helped people in the past get through the hardest parts, which is really just motivating yourself to push forward when you hit a wall, which you inevitably will with your own business. So yeah, that was the origin. Sorry, Sue, go ahead.
I saw somebody just raised a hand. So if you have a question, anybody, please type it in the chat. You should find the chat button near the bottom of your screen. And if you put it in there, then Margaret is glad to answer questions. The way we've set this up, we can't actually hear you. So if you raise your hand, we can't call on you. But please do type any questions you have in the chat, and we'll take it from there. And I'll just tag on to what Margaret was saying. The Commons on Champa in Denver is a great entrepreneurial resource, and they run a program called Co-Starters, which is offered around the country. So if you're looking for a program, it is a lot of different places.
Yeah, it's a great program. And I can just say that like the people who also work and staff the Commons on Champa are like some of the most wonderful, supportive people I've met in Denver. So if you are a business owner, a small business owner, highly recommend just going to the space to check out, because they also have like a free work area, co-working space. I don't know if it's open right now, but at some point when things open back up, they do have like a free co-working space for entrepreneurs or just the community in general. So I guess I can just keep going. Does that sound good, Sue?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so went out to LA, figured out our supply chain, and a year later we were ready to launch the brand. We had come up with the styles that we were launching with. We'd come up with all of our pricing. We had our website ready to go. So what we did was we opened up like a couple months before our official launch for pre-sale. So we sent out emails to the list that we had been collecting, we started our social media and our marketing, I guess, about 9 months before we actually launched the company. So I started building the brand and posting content, before we had sold anything or could sell anything. And basically with the goal of getting people interested in our brand, so to follow us on Instagram or Facebook. And then in addition, to get people to sign up for our email list. So we put up like a very basic pre-launch website that was pretty much just an email sign up form. So we were able to collect a few hundred email addresses, before we even launched, which is great because then we had this list that we could send out for when we pre-launched to pre-sell our products. So it's basically a way for us to test our website and to also try to pre-sell as much as we can to determine, what the demand was, what styles were selling the most, and to try to get a sense, before we even put it out there to the larger community of how much we were going to sell at any given time.
Get some cash for.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And I mean, at that point, we had put a lot of upfront capital into inventory, our first round of inventory. So to pre-sell before we had to pay for the inventory, because we didn't have to pay until we actually received it. We started pre-selling before we got any product. So we were able to start paying back what we had spent on the inventory before we even officially launched, which was great. So highly recommend doing a pre-sale to just test out even just to test out your website before you go live. And then officially, so this was in 2018, officially we launched for real on Mother's Day of 2018. And we had promised order delivery on pre-sale items by Mother's Day. So we gave ourselves that date as like, all right, if you ordered something on pre-sale, you're going to get it by Mother's Day. And then we launched the brand to the greater community on Mother's Day. So that's always our birthday, which I love.
Yeah, absolutely. As a baby clothing company, very cool.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. So we started with the first collection, and then, I mean, once we were selling, it became, all right, like we were really invested also in our mission and our donation program. So we really wanted to encourage our customers to utilize that. And we were really figuring it out as we went. A lot of having a business is reconciling what you want the business to be with what your customers want the business to be, or what they see it as. So, for us, I mean, we really wanted to be mission first, and we put that into, we went really hard with that on all of our marketing. And I mean, I think that a lot of our customers do buy our products because of our mission, but I also think that a lot of our customers buy our products because they like the prints, or they found something with blueberries on it and they really wanted a blueberry onesie, and we have that, or the taxis do super well all over the country. So yeah, I mean, I think it's a mix of figuring out that we started a sustainable social enterprise, but we also started a fashion brand. And what does that mean? How do we make money? And, how do we make this a full-time thing? And so it took us about, a year and a half to get fully full-time with it. And I mean, I'm not going to lie, like it's a definitely slow and steady race. And it's a competitive market. But that being said, it's a huge market with tons of different categories. So like, for example, like we are priced like mid-range luxury, but not like super luxury items. So like we are $100 baby gift for a matching blanket, onesie, and hat. That's priced at $95 for us. So, I mean, if you're buying, so a lot of our orders come from gifts, because I think people spend more on gifts than they do for, possibly their own kids or something, or a lot of people have hand-me-downs. So we figured out early on that we should really be leaning into the gifting side aspect of our business, which was the smartest thing that we could have done. Over 70% of our orders are gifts.
Wow.
Yeah, which is, and our signature product, which is totally sold out right now. So apologies if you're on our website and see our stuff out of stock. We're totally dealing with COVID shutdowns in LA right now. So we haven't been able to get a restock on blankets, actually. That's what we're missing. And that's why we can't sell. That's why all of our gift boxes are out of stock. But we do, the different styles, and then we do these gift box bundles. The gift boxes are our most popular item. So the blankets tend to go really fast, and we have to keep making more of those on a pretty regular schedule. But yeah, that's sort of kind of like what we sell and how we do it. About a year in, we went from being exclusively direct to consumer, which was originally, we were hoping that we could sustain the brand purely on direct to consumer sales through our own website. I mean, we don't have like crazy good margins because we manufacture with, a boutique manufacturer in the US. We're looking all in all, including shipping, at around a 55% margin, maybe 60, if we can get, our minimums to the higher tier. But I mean, that being said, that's really not enough of a margin to make wholesale a viable option for us. So we really only make like a 5-10%. I lost Sue there, but I won't worry about it. We usually only make like a 5 to 10% margin off of wholesale orders. So we kind of steer clear of those unless boutiques or retailers reach out to us and ask us if we do wholesale. And then, then we'll offer it because it's a great way to offload inventory. Hi, Sue. We won't worry about her. I think she's on the phone. So yeah, what was I saying? Wholesale. Okay, so we can't really do much wholesale. We try to do it when people reach out to us. We were carried in like a couple boutiques in Colorado, and we have some in New York, and then a few other ones around the country in different locations, like a couple in Phoenix, a couple in California. So we are sold in a few stores, but that's really not, we've never been to a trade show, and we've never focused on getting wholesale orders. What we do sell a lot on now are marketplaces. So about a year into building the brand, direct to consumer was, we were growing, but we were growing slowly, and we weren't selling enough volume through our own website to be profitable. So we wound up, and this sort of fell into our lap, which was amazing. But J. Crew reached out to us to see if we could, they could carry our brand on their website as part of a new baby and toddler third-party seller marketplace. It's called like Brands We Love, and it's a section of their site. So, and they would, the way that marketplaces work is they usually take a commission off of every sale. So instead of giving up 50 to 55% on a wholesale, on a wholesale sale, you give up a 20 to 25% commission on every sale. So it's basically like selling something at a 30% off discount. So we still retain, about a 20, 25% margin off of those types of marketplace retail sales. So they're not as profitable for us as selling off of our own website. But that being said, I don't know where we'd be right now, honestly, without the number of sales that come in through the J. Crew and now the Motherly marketplace. So those are two huge revenue channels for us. And that's been kind of a recent development in the brand. And, since then, I guess where we're at now is we're just trying to navigate this whole coronavirus thing with everybody else in the world, trying to keep our heads up and, yeah, trying to, figure out what's next for the business and how we can maintain where we're at. I'm like, okay with not like trying to grow right now for the next few months. I do feel like, every business comes to a point where like, if you're not, blowing up exponentially, like you either, integrate it into your life and you continue working on it, and or, you think about what the next move is. Like, so, I mean, I don't know. It's tough to say. I mean, we're doing relatively well now, but I think we're pretty concerned with the long-term effects of coronavirus just on retail in general. Obviously, J. Crew went bankrupt, if you haven't heard, but we actually, yeah, I mean, thankfully they're continuing, they're in Chapter 11, so they're restructuring. So they're continuing to sell our products and we're continuing to sell on their website. And we haven't seen much of a decline in sales since their bankruptcy filing. And it hasn't really ultimately affected us selling on their website. But that being said, I mean, who knows? I mean, they might not be in business in a year from now. So you can never count on any business but your own. Even the big ones might go under, might pull the rug out from under you like J. Crew did for us. But that being said, we still continue to sell on their website, and we haven't run into any major issues with that yet. And yeah, hopefully, I mean, I think the next move is trying to get on more marketplaces to try to diversify our revenue streams. And sorry, I feel like maybe I should talk about our donation program a little bit more too, since that's why we're all here. I would love if anybody has any questions, please go ahead and let me know, what would be the most interesting thing for you to know. But we run this mail-in donation program and we partner. So our Senegal donation program relies on, travel. It relies on overseas transport. We have to ship donation bundles overseas. And then we have, our liaison, we have somebody who manages the program over there. She's a midwife, the midwife that I actually worked with in Peace Corps. She actually goes down to the port, picks up the bundles, brings them back to these rural clinics and stocks them and gives them out to women who deliver there. We were set to do we were gonna go with a huge distribution and make a whole trip out of it in May and June of this year. And then of course, COVID-19 happened in March and we had to cancel our trip and our distribution. And we wound up giving all of those donations that we had parceled out and saved to send over to Senegal to a couple of the nonprofits that we had been working with in Denver. So anything that we didn't parcel off to donate to the Senegal donation program has always been redonated. So that includes like lower quality items, like things that were the wrong size, or winter jackets, or things that, wouldn't translate to a baby bundle given as a newborn gift to a new mom in Senegal would be something that we then redonated with locally partnered nonprofit organizations. So we have a textile recycler in Denver who we sent everything that was basically like too low quality for rewear, like super stained or whatever. So we would sort everything ourselves too. Like this was all a manual process, all the donations that we got. And then anything that was suitable for rewear, but that we weren't going to use for our Senegal donation program, which was we had very specific, we only took like swaddle blankets, organics, and really newborn items for that program. So anything outside of that was immediately redonated with clothes for kids and a precious child here in Denver. And we cycle also, sometimes we would let people donate diapers to us as well. And we cycle, I don't know if you guys are familiar with any of these organizations, but they're great groups. And we were super happy to work with them when we were in Denver. And yeah, that's who got the donations. And we would drive those over ourselves once every couple weeks. And thankfully we had a nice small warehousing situation with a fulfillment space and an office. So, we could keep all of these operations outside of our home. And yeah, like Sue said, I mean, I just moved across the country. So I just moved to Brooklyn and I'm in the process of moving the business and trying to figure out like warehousing out here, as well as because we fulfill all of our own orders still. So right now I'm just fulfilling from home, and we'll see. I have a lot of work to do with that.
Take baby clothes, right?
Yeah, exactly. But so, yeah, I mean, to keep it in kind of like the local vein, obviously we can't donate to, you know, our Denver nonprofits that we had worked with anymore. So I've been doing some research on similar type of organizations here in New York City that we can donate or redonate all of the donations that we collect from our customers. I also have, I mean, one of my ideas before this whole coronavirus thing happened was to build out, because I mean, truly, like we get back donations that are like really nice stuff, like very high quality, barely worn. I mean, of course you get some stuff that's like, you know, bottom of the barrel, end of life, and that goes straight to the textile recycler. But everything else is like really good stuff. I mean, I just think that babies, you know, barely wear their clothes. So, you know, when they're outgrown, a lot of them are still in a condition to be worn again, not just one more time, but maybe a few more times by a few different kids. So, obviously we encourage, you know, hand-me-downs, of course, but we know that some people don't have the space to hold on to, you know, a ton of clothes that they're not immediately using. So I have to figure out what to do. But I was telling you about the idea that I had. So I'm actually thinking about integrating a pre-loved resale program section into our store, so that in addition to selling new sustainably made baby clothes and then getting to return and recycle what's outgrown, we would also offer pre-loved bundles that were pre-cleaned and, you know, just resold donations of high quality that we receive. So I'm thinking about integrating that into our brand possibly in the fall. And we'll see if anybody, I mean, I would love to get feedback on that. So if anybody who's listening, you know, has any ideas or inspiration, that would be more than welcome. So feel free. But yeah, I mean, I think I've just been talking nonstop for like 45 minutes. So Sue, I will let you give me a little bit of guidance and let me know what I should talk about next. And please, anybody who's listening, if you have a question, go ahead and type it in.
Well, you've answered already a lot of the things I was going to ask you about. You've given us some idea about what's next and what some of the challenges have been that you've taken on and come out strong on the other side with. So, and you've given some tips for folks that are also thinking about starting mission-driven sorts of companies. So I'm curious, do you find that you've got more affinity within the, with other like apparel related companies, or is there kind of a broader movement of purpose-driven companies that you feel like you've been part of and that's been beneficial? Kind of like, tell me like what's your network look like?
I think it's both. I think, and I do see a difference, like a separation between the two groups. I think that there are mission forward social enterprise or sustainable enterprise brands and businesses that really, I guess, relate to one another on that mission and purpose level, whether or not they share a product or a service even, or, you know, they could be doing completely different things. And I still find it very easy and really wonderful to engage with other business owners who are working on purpose-driven businesses. And that's really, like, I would say that's my true passion, like more so than having a fashion company, is having a sustainable social enterprise. But that being said, your business is still your business, and the way that you make money is by selling the products that you offer. So from a business standpoint, I think that I consider us a fashion brand, and you know, I have to be very focused on building our business up in the way that other fashion brands have done so successfully in order to sustain our monthly revenue.
So another question kind of piggybacking on that is, you know, you were very clear at the beginning that you wanted to be, well, you were kind of mission first. And then it's like, okay, well, what are products that we can sell, that we can get behind, that we can also do good with? But, you know, you had this driving vision of what you wanted to accomplish kind of in the bigger picture on the planet. So as you were, like, it sounds like you became the Google queen, and doing all kinds of research about how to do things. Like you said, you know, you weren't sure how to do it, but with some research, you can figure it out. But like doing some of the more traditional business training, how did you find, like, could people relate to the fact that you were starting a different sort of business? Or did you find you had to kind of like really dig your heels in and say, okay, I can learn from this, but you know, we're a bit different, and are there any things you learned through that process that you can give tips to everybody on?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I would say more so the latter. Like, we certainly like leaned into the idea of being mission forward. We knew that we were going to be a company that put purpose over profit in a certain sense, which puts you on its own in somewhat of a different boat. And I mean, some people respond, you know, really well to that and think you're doing a great thing. Other people can scoff at you for that. I mean, I think that like, it just depends on who you're talking to, and you have to find the people that align with your vision. And really, I mean, those are the only people that matter. The only people that matter are the people that keep your business going, and those are your customers. So obviously they have an investment in your mission, whether or not they're just buying an item because they like taxis on a baby clothes. They certainly don't hate the fact that you have a mission. And I don't think anybody really hates the fact that a business has a mission, unless you're like a horrible person. But I think that when you're selling a physical product, the first thing you have to do is make the product something that your customers are going to want. Mm-hmm. And then your mission comes into play. It becomes either an, ooh, great, like there's a plus. So like, you know, I see that this company that has this product that I was already going to buy also has a mission behind it. And, you know, that makes me, even if it makes me less, like not more likely to make the purchase that I was already going to make, it might make you more likely to just have a favorable impression of the brand. Maybe you'll recommend it more highly. Who knows? And then there are some people that, you know, buy from us because of our mission, because they want to participate in the donation program and they think it's interesting and they think it's cool. They've never seen anything like it. So I think that there were some mentors and some people that I sought advice from early on that really understood what type of customers we were going after and really believed in what we believe, which is that conscious consumerism is not a trend, and that it's something that consumers these days want. This is the direction that consumers want. A lot of consumers, conscious consumers, want the world to go in. So, you know, I think that this is a trend that's here to stay, and I think that it will only continue to become more and more popular as traditional type consumerism from large corporate brands that never needed to have a social impact or a sustainability component before are getting a lot of pressure from younger consumers to either add that into, you know, their traditional ways of operating, and then giving also the opportunity to new brands and startups to come in and really ride that wave of like, you know, we know that there are customers out there that are looking for a mission driven, you know, brand that sells the product that they also need. So let's be that for those people. And it seeps into everything you do. So, I mean, for us, like, we started out building the brand around this idea of a mail-in return donation program for baby clothes. And truly, I mean, I truly think this. I truly think that we have more of an impact by the nature of how we make the clothes than by the nature of how many used clothes we donate. Mm-hmm. So I think that because we decided to go into it with this full circle sustainability initiative, we wound up setting up our supply chain and our manufacturing and our relationships with the work, you know, the labor that we employ in Los Angeles to make our products in a sustainable way, in a fair way, in an ethical way. And I think that us contributing to the economy in that sort of way, in terms of manufacturing an ethical product that, you know, we know that the sewers that work for our factory are treated well and are paid a living wage, like, for, you know, being in the United States too. Like, that's a hard thing to find. And because we know that, I tend to think that our impact lies more in the way that we make our product and the fact that we're doing it in a better way than, you know, most of the major companies out there, than, you know, by the impacts that we're having with the return donation program that's also part of our brand.
Right? Like, it's all good. It's like, it just makes it stronger, you know, having both pieces. And I, you know, applaud that you put so much effort into really figuring out the production side of it, the manufacturing side of it, so that, you know, it could have been easy to cut some corners and do some things that wouldn't have been fully in alignment with your values because of how much everything costs to get going. And you didn't do that. So, you know, good for you. Like, I'm sure there were times when you might have been tempted for half a second.
Yeah. And I mean, you know, no business is perfect. Like, if you want to, there's no way to have a small business and be the most sustainable business in the world. Like, there just isn't. Like, you have to know that it takes time to, as long as you hold on to the values of your brand and you have a vision for what you want, what you ultimately want to be, when you have the resources to become that, you have to do the best you can with what you have, when you're getting started and when you're growing, because ultimately, you know, the world is going to be there whether your business is there or not. So, you know, if you want to make an impact with your business, you have to make sure your business can grow, and can sustain you and your livelihood, and, you know, can operate with a profit.
Well, we're pushing right up on the end of our time. If anybody has any questions, please do put them in the chat. I know people tend to be shy about that, but we do want to encourage you. If you have any questions, please do it. So Margaret, what's the best way for people to sort of keep up with Bokk Baby and what you're up to? You want to tell people, so you've mentioned your website, you want to give them the URL?
Yeah, I'll give you guys the URL.
I see Heidi typed in. This was so helpful to listen to. Thank you for sharing your story.
And then I will, here.
You know, one of the things that I come away from, Margaret, listening to everything you shared is, you know, like, you got to just keep going, you know, that you can do a lot if you're committed, and you know, if things that you originally thought or what you wanted to do turn out like maybe that wasn't going to be the best direction, be willing to pivot and look where you are now. This is like, you're a great, inspiring story for all of us. So thank you a lot for sharing it.
Of course. Yeah, it's my pleasure. So please, if anybody wants to get in touch with me, you can email me directly at margaret@bokkbaby.com, and check out our website and follow us on Instagram too. We're on all the Facebook, Instagram, social media stuff. So
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. And thanks to all of you that came to listen live, and for all of you that are going to be listening to the recording later. I think Margaret did a great job of talking about the journey of getting Bokk Baby going. And I think there's a lot of great tidbits in there that should help you no matter where you are on your own path. So thanks again, Margaret. Really appreciate your time. And
I think I'm going to come to the session this afternoon. So
okay, great. And hope to see the rest of you at the session this afternoon. Bye-bye.